Hey YouTube, this is Mike, and I just wanted to share a short little snippet from this episode that I really enjoyed. However, if you want to listen to the full episode, either scroll down this post or head to mikejamesreid.com/podcast for the full episode. Thanks and enjoy. Do you have principles that you come back to on a regular basis, an operating manual for how you operate in business and life?
Yeah, so definitely, I think I knew this question was going to come up. And so, in terms of, there's a lot of change as good as a holiday. Another one, my dad always said to me all the time was, a fool and their money are easily parted. So part of what I've developed around the podcast, my business is educating people on how to be better with their money. The other thing is I would never give someone a task that I couldn't do myself. I think that's really important. Again, goes back to that grittiness and rolling up the sleeves and getting it done. And I think there's so many people out there today who just are afraid of doing the mundane stuff. But as a solo entrepreneur, before you start developing all your systems, you kind of have to do the invoicing and the accounting and the, all the stuff that does, it's not the sexy stuff of when you want to own your own business, but you've got to go through it because that's just part and parcel of being a solo entrepreneur. But again, it goes back to I'm willing to do it because I was brought up with the idea of, do it, whatever it takes to get it done. So yeah, that's sort of some.
The really, really good reminders. I think particularly for any established entrepreneur, and I'm imagining the vast majority of people listening to this are going to be experienced, seasoned entrepreneurs that, my experience is that over time and distance, the more you develop a team and all that kind of thing, the harder it becomes to get back into the trenches and do some of that really dirty, gritty work, but such a useful, rewarding thing to do on a regular basis to some degree or another. A, just to get you connected to it. B, to be able to demonstrate to the rest of the team as a leader that you're willing to get your hands dirty. But yeah, such a good reminder. Mate, given what you do and given your experience and expertise in property development, in wealth accumulation, I'm curious to ask you, if you lost everything tomorrow, all your material possessions, your wealth, what would you do? How would you navigate through that? And, what do you think someone can do to feel more emotionally prepared for, that kind of blow up scenario?
Yeah, I think the blow-up scenario is, I was reading some article the other day about how, everyone talks about failing fast and failing forward and little failures help to big failures. But I think the big thing you've got to realize is don't get too far out over your skis in the beginning to make sure that you have the blow-up scenario never comes around. Like, yes, there's going to be failures. And of course, there's going to be failures. It's inevitable. But the blow-up failure, and if I had to do it all again, I probably would do it all again the same way in terms of building the brand, building the reputation, building a foundation of trustworthiness and, down to earth, that sort of grittiness, and knowing that I can have created it from scratch. Put me in a different country, like China or something, and say, Reid, start again. I'd probably do everything the same way, be willing to get dirty, be willing to roll up the sleeves and do it all again because I've done it once. And I think the second time around, you'd obviously learn your lessons and you need to document that somewhere because we never learn. But, also being big enough and ugly enough to realize that back to, we only live one life, the material possessions and all that sort of stuff. It is just that, and if you don't have your health, you don't have you're not a good person, you're not doing the right thing, and you get caught up in your little bubble, there's more to life than that. And, creating wealth and financial freedom is one thing, but to go and, if you lost it, to go and do it again wouldn't be the end of the world for me because I built it from scratch already. I think that's the big takeaway.
So for those listening, if you were to go back and do it all over again, could you point to what are the 2 to 3 key things that you've done or you're continuing to do today that are really the cornerstones of your visibility, success, financial success, reputation, whatever else it may be? Could you point to 2 or 3 kind of key things?
Personally?
Yeah. And this is, not just in terms of your attitude, but I'm saying, things like the podcast, for example, would that be a cornerstone of, what's really kind of created the order of magnitude shift? Or if it's not that, is it other things?
Yeah, 100%. So I think you break it all down. Like I've read KPI, I've had mentors that have shown me the way about being published and all that sort of stuff and being a thought leader. And I think having that foundation of thought leadership and bringing the education to whatever industry you're in order to educate, whether it's your customers or your competitors or whatever it might be, being that thought leader will inevitably help lay the foundation for a more stable foundation, not, on a stack of teacups, and so it won't come all crashing down because you're willing to give it, as Gary Vee says, give it away for free and people will come back in droves or whatever you might do. So yes, building the podcast when I first started, it was a niche I actually experienced. So I was, I called it Investing in the US, the ultimate guide to US real estate. And it was niching on talking to the international investor about the benefits of investing in, because I went through all the crap, what's an LLC? How do I get, leverage here in the United States? What's the investing terms and, paraphernalia that I had to get my head wrapped around? And I sort of laid it out in an educational format to then, educate those who wanted to invest here. And from that, I've niched and now I've pivoted and it's more broad. But that in itself has laid the foundation to be a thought leader, to be someone who's going to then be asked to come and speak on stage and have a book and, partner with certain different people, and gravity attracts gravity. And, there's just that momentum. And what you guys say over at Dent is, you got to ride the wave, right? And this is 2019. As entrepreneurs, you always got to be, again, it goes back to that. You're not big enough and ugly enough to know everything. And I'm the first one to admit that I don't know everything, and I will continue to learn throughout my entire life and throughout my entire entrepreneurial career. And I want to learn because whatever I don't know could kill me and could crush me. And so being educated on whatever industry that is, if that's to be a thought leader, and that will be minimize the risk because you've got digital assets like a book or a podcast or a thought leadership platform in order to support the business, then it doesn't really matter what business you're in, because you can go and start it all again and build the foundation blocks. I think the risk of failure with that thought leadership on the bottom of your food triangle or pyramid or whatever you want to call it definitely does help, plant the flag and plant a very solid foundation to go and launch a successful business from that, whatever industry it might be.